Why do I get so triggered when dealing with flat earthers and even life in general? Well, let's talk about it. Hello again, or for the first time, I'm the Triggered Limey. A big part of my YouTube persona is that I get angry when dealing with science deniers and conspiracy theorists. Most often they're one and the same. But is this all an act? Or is this how I really am? Truth be told, with me, what you see is what you get, both on and off of YouTube. I try to just be myself because I think that you guys deserve to know the real me. There are many reasons that I am this way and why I act the way I do. The purpose of this video is to basically explain some of the why, especially when dealing with flat earthers. So, first we should talk about me. You're welcome. I have EUPD, or Emotionally Unstable Personality Disorder. You may also know this as borderline personality disorder. Basically, this means that my brain lacks the ability to regulate emotions. This dysregulation can manifest in many different ways. Mainly my emotions can change drastically at any time and obviously for no external reason. Although obviously outside situations and stimuli can elicit these changes too. BPD has basically been linked to the limbic systems of the brain. These areas control emotions. In someone like me, the amygdala and the hippocampus, a part of the limbic system that handles learning and memory, are underdeveloped. This is why before I injured my spine, I was very hands-on when trying to learn science, maths, and well, basically anything. I've had to work extremely hard to be able to retain information on a permanent basis. And even then, if I don't use this knowledge regularly, it's often forgotten quite easily. Although I suspect that many of us experience this issue as we get older. As for my emotions, they tend towards the extreme. Often I can be depressed to the point of basically being unable to function, or at other times like today, I can be manic to the point that I'm having trouble controlling my thoughts, having memories and ideas just relentlessly bombarding my consciousness. Becoming a content creator has definitely helped me, at least at times, to master my focus, but for how long or to what end is basically anybody's guess. It just depends on the day, the situation, and what my brain decides it feels like doing at that point in time. So, enter the science denier. I feel so many strong emotions when dealing with these people and their misunderstandings. The most prevalent are extreme sadness and anger. The sadness is basically for the wasted lives of these people. I mean, sure, you know, they might have a great deal of success in many aspects of their lives, job, love, etc. But just the thought of these people wasting years of their lives misinterpreting and ignoring reality in general, it really does break my heart. And then the anger kicks in. This mainly happens for two reasons. With flat earthers as the example, usually they'll misunderstand and ignore repeatable, verifiable science, and this just infuriates me. The other thing would be just trying to get the correct information into their heads. It's normally always a fruitless endeavor. I guess they just prefer to live in denial, really. But I do truly believe that even if I can save a single person from falling down the rabbit hole, then all of this hard work will have been worth it. So hopefully that explains a little bit about why I am the way that I am, although admittedly I'm writing these thoughts, my bullet points that I'm reading from, out while in a manic phase. You know, even I'm having trouble concentrating on what I'm doing, so I'm having to constantly look at these notes to keep refreshing myself, because right now my thoughts are all over the place. So I'm not even sure if I'm actually getting my point across very well, but I'm going to keep it like this. I'm not going to try to rewrite anything or refilm anything, because I'm trying to get across how my mind works in these situations and not really give you guys a fake YouTube version of myself. I feel like I can't put out this video without at least trying to teach the flat earthers something. So with that in mind, let's learn some shit. One common flat earth argument is that Earth's atmosphere needs to be contained, and if it's not, it will violate the second law of thermodynamics by not equalizing with the vacuum of space. So let's have a look at this. Thermodynamics, funnily enough, is the science of thermo, which means heat, and dynamics, which is work or power, as well as the related changes in properties of a substance that is performing the work. When studying thermodynamics, we define a quantity of matter or a region in space as a system. Everything around this system we call the surroundings, and there is a boundary that separates the two. This boundary can be physical or imaginary, just depending on the area that we're studying. For example, we could study how gas works in a container, and that would be obviously a physical barrier, or we can look at a certain section of the atmosphere, and so the boundary would be imaginary. Of course, to the flat earthers, just because we're calling it imaginary doesn't mean that it's not something we can study. It doesn't mean it's made up. It's just us setting a perimeter around what area we want to look at. So again, those were just a couple of examples. Obviously, there are many more scenarios that we can create for thermodynamic study. Part of thermodynamics is the systems. You have open systems that allow both mass or matter and energy to transfer across the boundary. Examples of this would be things like compressors or certain areas within Earth's atmosphere. Obviously, molecules can pass between the gradient, the layers that we basically look at that are caused by Earth's gravity. Closed systems can still allow energy transfer, but cannot allow matter to transfer. So basically the system's mass remains constant. Earth is treated as a closed system, but it's not quite that. We do lose some hydrogen and helium when they reach escape velocity. But aside from that, you know, there is no real matter loss, so we can treat it as a closed system. Obviously, we do get things coming in as well, like the occasional meteorite, which would stop it being a closed system. But again, mostly it is closed. As far as energy, we receive energy from the sun, and so that's the energy side of, you know, crossing the boundary. And lastly, we do have isolated systems. Now, these don't allow the transfer of matter or energy. So again, you know, using the flat Earth example, you can look at pressurized gas in a container. In thermodynamics, the second law covers quite a few things, but basically it will say that in a closed system, entropy will never decrease. As far as the atmosphere and space, we'd really be better off learning about fluid mechanics in regards to our atmosphere against the near vacuum of space. Since we're looking at the flat Earth's claims, we'll continue along that narrative. The argument that flat earthers use is to do with pressurized gas, although they call it gas pressure, needing a container. But there's a bit of a difference, and they don't understand that because they're morons. Basically, you know, gas pressure would just be like, you know, as we can measure it. You can obviously have gas pressure in a container. You can also have gas pressure or air pressure, atmospheric pressure outside of a container. You just need a surface for it to push against to, you know, measure it basically. It doesn't need to be fully contained. Pressurized gas is different. You need a container because you are forcing as much gas as you can into that. And obviously on Earth, if that's next to a vacuum or even just next to the atmosphere, once open, that gas will try to equalize and escape into the surrounding area, provided obviously that it has a pressure higher than the atmospheric pressure around where it is situated. But again, back to the whole point, you know, they say that you can't have gas without a container. It can't exist next to the vacuum of space. So let's just take a quick time out. Like, I just need to say, obviously I know I'm all over the place, but this is just how my brain's working today. I'm having a major manic episode, but I wanted to again film this video in this state so that you can kind of understand what I go through. So yeah, back to it. So first, space isn't a perfect vacuum. It has a positive pressure of 1 × 10⁻17 torr. Also, Earth has gravity. So let's quickly just look at said closed container again, with pressurized gas. Now, if we're doing this experiment on Earth, obviously it's still affected by gravity. So if we have this closed or isolated system and a barrier down the middle here, we've got pressurized gas on this side and we've got a vacuum on this side. If we then remove the barrier, the gas is going to expand to fill the available space. However, there will still be a pressure gradient because of gravity. So the top area of the gas in this container will have less pressure than the gas at the bottom of the container. Earth's atmosphere, again though, is not pressurized gas next to a vacuum. It is a load of gas molecules that are affected by gravity. This forms the pressure gradients when basically the pressure at the top of one level equalizes with the pressure at the bottom of the area on top. An example that we can easily see would be where the top of the ocean meets the bottom of the air above it. These pressure gradients get smaller and smaller as most of the molecules are pulled towards gravity, and the ones that have enough work to basically push against it, or that use buoyancy as part of it as well to get higher, that thins out. So basically these pressure gradients go layer by layer until they meet the near vacuum of space. So again, flat earthers, we're not looking at a load of pressurized gas next to a vacuum, but instead we're looking at an area of pressure meeting an area with slightly less pressure and continuing like that, equalizing at their layers until it eventually thins out to what we call space. So before we wrap up this video, I just want to say thank you for putting up with me like this. It's probably very difficult to watch, I'm having problems keeping myself focused, and sure, I could have again waited until everything was coming out slower and maybe more coherently, but again, I kind of wanted this video to just show how I work sometimes. Lastly, to all of the flat earthers out there, if you sort of try to set your ego aside and take your understanding of maths and physics past the middle school level, you will start to see the world in a whole new light. Basically, follow your mantra and do your own research, but don't ignore actual scientific evidence. Just try to understand it more. There are a load of people in the communities that can help you with this, that have fantastic knowledge of this stuff. I do wish you the best of luck in your search for truth, but you know, just seriously, stop thinking that you can understand things because you remember a little bit of basic maths and physics. You know, these arguments like how trigonometry is all about triangles, sure, when you were in middle school, but once you get into advanced trig, you can do a boatload of stuff and you don't need a triangle in sight. Stop saying that you need a flat baseline to measure an angle. You don't. You can measure against a curved surface. You could measure against two curved surfaces. You're just measuring against a tangent just to get that angle. It doesn't matter what shape the surface is. You guys have basically only scratched the surface with your understanding, and you'll never evolve unless you take your studies further. But again, you need to set aside your ego to be able to do that. Basically, just go back to school for sake. Oh, now piss off, you beautiful bastards. And obviously I'm talking to my regular viewers and new viewers, not you flirts. But before you go, please do consider checking out this awesome video by Where's Wally on Brian's Logic. It's what made me want to make last week's Wanker Wednesday video, and I completely forgot to mention it during the video, so I wanted to correct that now. Bye.
I want to be the best in the game, invest in my name, check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain, I ingest, I retain, assess and I change, possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints, money, clout, and fame.